NorbCam coming at you with another walk talk on this Monday. Glad to be back from Salt Lake City. It's always nice to come back home. Left cold and dry Salt Lake City to get back to a not as cold but wet Seattle. It's supposed to rain all week. Welcome back. Anyway, I'm here resuming my usual walk talk back at home. Lots going on. So I thought I'd just take this opportunity as usual to take my walk, burn off some calories, get my fresh air in, and chat with you guys a little bit, because there's been so much going on in the NFL this past week, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. First, I want to say hello to everybody who's jumped on in early. Flesh Cannon, Eric Ostad. Flesh Cannon, Russell is coming back. Yeah, wouldn't that be funny? Because the trade's not formally announced until Wednesday. That it all comes back. It's all like, oh, Russell Wilson says no to the deal. He's staying a Seahawk. Wouldn't that be shocking? Michael, Eric, Kaporik, Jackson Miller. Yeah, it might be the craziest free agency season of all time. I say that every year. This free agency is the most crucial one. Or this draft is the most crucial. Oh, boy, this one big time. Ben Brand, we need Tom Brady to the Seahawks. If the media is to be believed and everything's been said, he's coming back to the Bucs. Dev says they're going to slaughter us. But across, good morning. Always good to see you. The inflatable footballs are coming out of retirement. Oh, yes. I guess I shouldn't be too shocked now. I tweeted out, I said, well, after hearing that Brady's coming back, I think I've just learned to stop believing anything anybody says anymore, at least when it comes to athletes talking on social media or whatever. They all have their own agenda, and they sure aren't sharing with us what their plans really are. Cameron likes my thumbnail. Thank you very much. One of my better looks. All right. I can't read all the chats here, but continue to do so. I had our own conversations. And I'm just going to ramble on for a little while here, do my usual talk, my usual walk through the woods under the power lines. It is not raining at the moment. It's just kind of overcast. Feels like a slight drizzle could be on its way. Hopefully not in the middle of this. All right, so what has happened? Recapping the latest, as it seems to be an ongoing situation. Of course, we know, everybody knows by now, Russell Wilson traded to the Broncos. We get Drew Lock, pass rusher, tight end, Noah Fant in return, along with a couple of firsts, a couple of seconds, and a third or fourth? Can't remember. Not enough, in my opinion. But that is the current situation. And so, the big questions right now, as we're on the cusp of free agency. So right now, in about 20 minutes, the official free agency legal tampering period will have begun. Of course, teams have already been tampering. They've already been talking to other people, even though they're not supposed to. But this is the time when you can legally talk to free agents out there. Which means guys like Rashad Penny and Dwayne Brown and Quandre Diggs and DJ Reed, some of those other crucial pieces are now free to talk to other teams and see what they have to offer. And chances are Seattle's already made offers to them, and now they'll go shop and see if they can find a better deal somewhere else. And the bidding wars will begin. And as I've said with the Seahawks, am I actually on here? Let me turn this on. Maybe I was already connected. Let me double check this. There we go. Can you guys hear me okay still? I don't know if my headphones are actually activated or not. Anyway, let me know if you can't hear me. Hopefully you can. Okay. Yes, somebody give me a thumbs up. Can you guys hear me? You guys hear me okay on this? Yes, you're good. Okay, thank you. Jackson Miller, appreciate it. It's Jackson if you're nasty. Okay. So, as I've said before, we were all devastated with the Russell Wilson trade. At least most of us were. Some were more of a good riddance mindset, or hey, he's not that good anymore. That's okay. Others, like myself, were quite bummed about it, still going through these several stages of grief, I guess, call it that. But the Bobby Wagner one hit most people a lot harder. It's interesting how many people were really bummed out about that one. I was personally disappointed, but not as surprised, because I saw the Russell Wilson thing not coming. I didn't see that one coming, but I did see the Bobby Wagner one being more of a realistic situation because of his cap number and the amount that he was due. So, which, before I get into the implications of what the free agency situation might be, what I don't understand is every time you hear somebody say, oh, that person's cap number is too big, then they just go and do some cap magic. They convert the salary into signing bonus. I don't know how that whole thing works. But all of a sudden, hey, everything's fine now. Well, if that's the case, anytime you have somebody who's got that overinflated salary, why don't they just do the same thing and just convert that salary to signing bonuses? And it seems like that gets them off the cap hook every time. I need to dive into that a little bit more to understand it, or get someone who really understands the salary cap situation, because it seems like if there's a will, there's a way. There's always some option of making that work, where they can just, no matter what the cap situation is, aka Rams, that they can just pull a few number tricks and go, hey, look, we restructured his contract, and now his cap is lower and he's here to play. But it didn't happen. He got released. Didn't like the way they handled it. The whole thing about Bobby tweeting out, I didn't even hear it from the Seahawks. Basically heard it through the grapevine. Don't know the deal there. Like I said before, it would have been pretty easy just to pick up the phone and say, hey, Bobby, sorry, man. You know the situation. Unfortunately, we can't re-sign you. We wish you the best of luck. Let us know if you want a letter of recommendation. Seems like it would have taken like 2 minutes for a phone call, but why I think Coach Carroll or John Schneider couldn't do it got me confused, but whatever. I guess when you're cutting ties, in the end, it all comes to an end anyway, no matter how you slice it. Whether you give them the hug over the phone or not, in the end, you're still getting let go, right? Then the big picture things, bottom line is you're either staying or you're not. You're either getting paid or you're not. And so maybe that's just the bottom line, just the facts, ma'am. But so going back to that, so again, I thought if Bobby Wagner doesn't come back, it wouldn't shock me, because I already was thinking I don't know how the Seahawks could bring him back without a restructuring of his contract, which didn't happen. So as soon as Russell was traded, knew that Wagner was going to be the next chip to fall, and I was already thinking full rebuild. But I also said, we're still not, to me, the indications aren't there yet that we're in a full rebuild mode. And now that I've seen that Tom Brady's coming out of retirement, which really pisses me off, because one, I believed he was going to stay retired, and a lot of people were saying, oh no, he'll be back. And I was like, no, I was just sounding just as dumb saying that he wouldn't be back, in the same way that saying that Russell wasn't going anywhere. So now I feel like I got egg on both my cheeks for both those things. A lot of it because of I believe what I heard. So tired of doing that. No more believing anything comes out of agents, players, or anybody's mouths. So if the story is true, Brady's back. Now, a lot of people thought Brady going to the 49ers. I know a lot of 49er fans were thinking, ooh, we know that Garoppolo sucks, and that last image of him spinning out in a sack by Aaron Donald, throwing the ball wildly out of control and getting picked off at the end of the game to go to the Super Bowl will be the lasting memories they'll have of Garoppolo. And then Brady retires, and everyone's thinking, oh, he's going to go back to his childhood roots where he grew up rooting for the 49ers. He's going to come play for us for one more year. He'll come out of retirement to play for us. Well, apparently he chose the wrong team, wrong coast. He decided to go back to where he left. But talk about a short retirement, man. That was not even 2 months. Geez, didn't even let that sucker settle in yet. Yeah, I think everybody has been great. I'd like to retire. No, actually, I changed my mind. I'm back. It's like, wait, you were hardly even gone, bro. Why even bother announcing the retirement? You should just sat on it and just didn't say anything. Anyway, but now that he's back, and now that Russell Wilson is with the freaking Broncos, now there's this theoretical chance that the two of them could reunite in the Super Bowl in the same place they last saw each other in the Super Bowl, in Glendale, Arizona. Normally, if you had told me in 2022, there's a chance that Russell Wilson and Tom Brady would, not only because the Seahawks play the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay, Tom Brady would come out of retirement and the Seahawks would face Brady again. There's not only a chance that you get that rematch, which I would have been excited about when he was with our quarterback, but no. Now, if you were to tell me Russell Wilson was going to get a reuniting with potentially, long shot, but potentially, Tom Brady and Russell Wilson could face each other in the Super Bowl, we never thought it would be this way. So, as I said in my title, I've got two quarterbacks to root against. I always rooted against Tom Brady anyway. Now I got to root against Russell Wilson and Tom Brady. Yes, I'm still bitter. So yes, I'm still not turning the page to the point where I'm doing the, thanks for the memories, and I want you to succeed in your next team because we love you and appreciate all that you've done for Seattle. I guess, I don't know, maybe I'll get to that stage at some point, but I'm not there yet. If I were to see Russell Wilson and the Broncos against Tom Brady and the Patriots or the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, I'd lose my mind. I'd be going, that should have been our Super Bowl. Now, of course, we wouldn't face Tom Brady and the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl because we're NFC teams, but you know what I mean. That would be just the wrong dimension. Like some weird Twilight Zone twist meant to torture us Seahawks fans and former Russell Wilson fans. At the same time, as much as I'll be rooting against them and enjoying every time they don't succeed with their teams, I'm going to be that much more drawn to want to watch every moment of it. So doggone you, NFL, because you've created two new bad guys for me, I now, like a movie with a good villain, like a movie with Darth Vader and the Emperor, I have to watch it because it's damn good TV. It's damn good entertainment. So now I'm going to be paying more attention to Broncos games, which I would never gave two rats you-know-what's about. I'll be watching every highlight to see what the Broncos are doing in 2022. And, of course, I got to watch him come back to Lumen Field to play our Seahawks. So now, back to the rebuild. As I said, Bobby Wagner is expected to happen. But that happens next. I thought we were in full rebuild mode. But hold on a second. Hold on. Are we truly in a full rebuild mode? We will really know. Now starts the clock. I said before, keep an eye on these certain things, these certain players, the Quandre Diggs and the Dwayne Browns and DJ Reeds. Keep an eye on those players because they all start going to other teams. And we see even more radical moves like potentially a Tyler Lockett get moved or something like that. Then you know we're in a full rebuild. Like Rashad Penny. If Rashad Penny comes back, then I think there's still hope that this team is not truly going for a rebuild, rather a retooling, which means if they're not going to go full rebuild and they're just doing a retooling, for life after Russell Wilson, which I feel like it wouldn't make sense for Pete Carroll to do a full rebuild, because by the time he gets to that end of that contract extension and potentially look at retirement or whatever, I can't imagine that he'd want to go out with the start of a full rebuild and never see the fruits of it, of those efforts. I don't think he'd want that to be his lasting legacy. You know, Mike Holmgren's final year, he didn't go out the way he wanted to. He went out final year 4-12. I mean, talk about a sucky swan song. I'm sure that Pete Carroll doesn't want that. So, if we do start seeing those types of players coming back to the Seahawks, or other big names that are just as equivalent of something you'd get excited about, then I think we could still be in a non-rebuild, but simply retool mode, which would mean that the Seahawks have a plan at quarterback. And what could that plan possibly be? Because if the plan is to go with somebody on the roster right now, well, I think we're in a rebuild mode. Drew Lock, who we got from the Denver Broncos, quarterback, is not the answer. Anybody currently on the Seahawks staff right now is not the answer. Sorry, Geno Smith, with all due respect. Anytime you start a sentence with all due respect, it means you're about to slam that person. With all due respect, Geno Smith, you are not the starting quarterback savior for our team. And neither is the other ones, like Jacob Eason. Is that the one? The other guy that some people have mentioned. So, if we're not in full rebuild mode, and the Seahawks have a plan for quarterback, we know it can only be one. And if that quarterback is not currently on the Seahawks roster, that means only one of two possibilities. One, they're going to try to trade and acquire one of these free agent quarterbacks, or trade market quarterbacks, and you know who I'm talking about. Talking about guys like the controversial, very polarizing, fate yet to fully be determined Deshaun Watson, who it's amazing how there are so many people on both extreme sides of this guy. I think people are torn, or you got the people who see only what he did with the whole allegations, sexual harassment allegations. And then there's the people who only see the talent that he is and want to separate the two. I said a couple of days ago on my last talk in Salt Lake City, after they announced the grand jury didn't have enough evidence to charge him with a crime, that I kind of go by the letter of the law, and if legally something has not been proven, as I said for myself, if I was in the same situation, I would hate to have my livelihood, something be ruined by something that wasn't proven to be fact in a courtroom that I'm being charged with. And I'm just talking generalities here. I'm not trying to say that I know anything more about this, or that I think what he may or may have done is morally correct. Obviously, if you read the details of a lot of these lawsuits pending, it's a pretty nasty stuff, pretty inappropriate stuff. There have been worse, but he's definitely crossed a few lines there. But Deshaun Watson undoubtedly would be an amazing talent for the Seahawks, but they would have to, besides all that stuff off field, they would also have to give up a ton. They're talking 3 first-round picks. I mean, we'd have to give up we only have 1 first round this year. We'd have to give up our first rounder, our next year's first rounder, and then our next first rounder to start the conversation. So then there'd have to be players and other draft picks as well, just to even get in the conversation. And right now, again, if the story and the trends are to be believed, the two teams most engaged in talks at the moment, meeting with Deshaun Watson over the next 2 days, New Orleans Saints and Carolina Panthers. Those are the two teams right now who are highest at the top of the list, engaged in talks with trying to get Deshaun Watson. Obviously, two teams desperately in need of a quarterback, trying to fill the holes that voids left when their one-time franchise quarterbacks, Cam Newton and Drew Brees, once long held those positions in the NFC South. Both have been struggling to find that next quarterback to take them years forward. I'm telling you, it's not easy. Just ask those teams. They had franchise quarterbacks. Cam Newton, at one point, he was an MVP. Almost could have won a Super Bowl. Didn't. Lost to the aforementioned Broncos in Super Bowl 50. Has never been the same since. Drew Brees. There's another guy who really, he retires from the NFL a couple years ago. Now he's doing commentating. He was so good for such a long time. And Russell Wilson even talked about how he emulated himself after his game, since he was also a not tall quarterback. And Drew Brees only still came away with one ring. Cam Newton may never get a ring. But Drew Brees, another one of the one and done Super Bowl teams, I should say, which he deserved more than one. They should have been back there when the Rams committed that atrocious pass interference, no call, against the Saints. Was it back in 2000? I forget which year it was. 17? 18? Whichever one that got the pass interference review rule initiated the next year. So it became a disaster and they got rid of it again. So they're the ones right now that are in that market. But there are other players out there. Let's move on to the next most controversial quarterback who's floating out there, easier to get. Colin Kaepernick. I'm hearing a lot more buzz now about Colin Kaepernick. Almost as polarizing, but not nearly. It's funny because when you compare the two, they probably have the same amount of controversial stigma attached to them in terms of people who say, "Oh man, it'd be great," to the "No way, if he comes to our team, I'll never watch the Seahawks again." Yet, what did Colin Kaepernick really do that was that bad? I understand the whole kneeling thing at the time was huge controversy. Got blackballed for that, but really, he's never committed any crime against anybody. He's never actually directly, individually, harmed an individual. He has no lawsuits with somebody, of doing some wrongdoing. It's amazing, though, how much that dude has just fallen to the bad side when it comes to the NFL. And people forget. You need to go back and watch highlights of him from 2011, 2012 especially, and even 2013, where he almost beat us. Fortunately, Richard Sherman had long enough arms, and Malcolm Smith was there to catch it for the tip. But if you remember, he would run like a gazelle, and he was making some pretty good throws other than that last one. The last bad throw he would make, well, I should say he had plenty more bad throws. Last time when he was relevant and the 49ers were relevant, that marked the beginning of the end in terms of the 49ers run and the window being open for them in the early 2010s. But they could easily won Super Bowl 47. Again, could not get the ball in the end zone. Super Bowl 48, our NFC Championship against us. Could have won that one, gone back to back. They didn't. But Colin Kaepernick, he's out there. This dude hasn't played in like 6 years, but he's 6 years with no mileage on the tread. So he's not like a 6 years banged up, sacked 40 times a year kind of guy. He's just 6 years enjoying, even though he hasn't been in the NFL, he's doing just fine. He's got plenty of endorsements and things keeping him going. So I don't feel that bad for him. But would I want to see him in the uniform? He wouldn't be my first choice. Again, all controversy aside, he wasn't exactly lighting it up right before the knee thing happened. People seem to forget that as well, that he did have a trend downward after that pass. One thing, if he threw that interception in Super Bowl in NFC Championship 2013 and then took a knee and Sunday was out, that'd be different. But he had a lot of years in between where suddenly his productivity fell off and he eventually lost his job. He was, I think, a bench player in 2016 when he took the knee. So anyway, so I'm not real crazy about that one. But I think people are just, when you're desperate, you start looking around. It's like, hey, he's a quarterback. He did some good stuff. Let's go check that out. That doesn't hurt to bring him for a workout, right? Pete Carroll did at one point, I think back in 2017 or 18, said he was one of the few teams that actually brought Colin Kaepernick in for a workout. And he even said later that, I really wanted to sign him because he's a great talent, blah, 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 but just couldn't do it because we had Russell Wilson already. Well, technically, you don't have Russell Wilson anymore. So you could go back on what you said and, hey, coach, remember what you said about Colin Kaepernick? But as I've learned, don't believe everything you hear. They will say anything to spin things the way they want the story to be told. And if it sounds good, if it makes good PR narrative, well, that's all it's worth. It's not like some contractual statement that goes, Carol, you gotta get Colin Kaepernick out because you said 4 years ago that you wish you had him. Doesn't work like that. So, Colin Kaepernick off there. So who else now? Kirk Cousins. People were talking about Kirk Cousins for a while. Nope. He just signed another extension. I remember that $87 million contract he signed a few years ago, fully guaranteed, we thought that was a lot of money. $87 million. Now he's getting another extension. Forgot how much. It's a lot. It's like $40 million or something like that. I mean, these salaries are just insane. Of course, Aaron Rodgers broke the bank with his $200 million. Was it 4 years? 130-something million guaranteed. What do you do with all that money? I mean, I know there's richer people in the world. You know, you got stockholders of major corporations who have hundreds of times factors bigger than that. Just can't get your head wrapped around. But really, the question is, he broke the bank. Now, will Aaron Rodgers eventually win that second Super Bowl? Tough, again, after all that, after all the MVPs and all the amazing regular season finishes they've had, still only got the same number of rings Russell Wilson got. To add to more to the drama, they franchise tagged, what's his name? Davante Adams. The, of course, key and absolutely necessary component to Aaron Rodgers' game. Well, he came out saying he's not going to play for the franchise tag. Basically pulling a, what was the running back for the Steelers who did that? They put him on the franchise tag and wouldn't play. Somebody help me out. What's his name? Doggone it. Must be my old age. I get these names. I know what they are, but I can't pull them out of my brain. He went to the Jets. Doggone it. You know what I'm talking about? Who's that running back? Somebody in the chat. Le'Veon Bell. Thank you very much. T-Bone. Le'Veon Bell. He pulled that same card. Franchise tab, but he wouldn't play. Just sat. So Davante Adams is basically going, wait a second. You're going to give Aaron Rodgers a fifth of $1 billion, but you're not going to sign me and extend me a contract. You're going to put me under the franchise tag, go year by year. I want some security, man. I made him who he is. Without me, there's no he. So he's forcing the hand of the Packers. I'm interested to see how they work that out. What's going to happen with Adams not wanting to play under the franchise tag. Drama in Green Bay. What a shocker. I'll be there to watch it. So see how that goes, because seriously, if you don't have Devontae Adams, I mean, he is so key to that offense. All right. So where does that put us now? It's close to that time. It's got to be close to, I think the window has started. I believe it was 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern time. And so teams now, agents on the phone, just blowing it up right now. For all I know, there could have been a deal done. I don't even know because I'm out here walking. I'm not seeing my feed right now. But yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens now. There's a lot of other players I haven't mentioned. Amari Cooper, no longer with the Cowboys. I know the Rams re-signed one of their tackles. And I think the Packers also re-signed one of the pass rushers. Everybody doing deals, except for Seattle. It's typically quiet once again. I'm thinking about writing a song about the Russell Wilson trade. I've been starting to think about it, trying to put together my thoughts. How would I express it in a way that truly can put myself where I really feel now, where I will feel even maybe 6 months to a year from now. It's too fresh right now. And I don't know if I'll ever get used to it. I'm sure I'll do, but I don't know. I never got used to Super Bowl 49. That thing still stings like a freaking sliver in your foot. Never got over that. That was 7 years ago. Hurts just as much. Well, maybe not as much, but it still pains. It's still, you think about it. If you don't think about it, it doesn't bother you. But the moment you think about it, that's when you just start going, only. And who knows? A year from now, we might be going, hey, we got Broncos, man. Worst team in the AFC West. Looks like we got the better of that deal. Or they could be going, Super Bowl 57. The Denver Broncos, led by Russell Wilson, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a reuniting of Super Bowl quarterbacks. Blah, blah, blah. Then I'll be like, oh, man, Seattle, how did you screw this thing up? It's interesting. I've been putting a lot of polls out there of, like, who's to blame for this happening? Who would be the best? What do you want for your next quarterback? Definitely Deshaun Watson is at the top. I did a poll on YouTube. I did a poll on Twitter. By far, the majority are still going with Deshaun Watson. Gardner Minshew definitely gets a lot of support as well, especially from the locals here, since he did go to Wazoo. I guess I've not seen it. I am a UW guy, so of course I have slightly biased eyes when I look at him. But maybe he's okay. Maybe I haven't given him a chance. I mean, he did start for the Jaguars for a spell there. But then again, the Jaguars sucked. Even with Trevor Lawrence, they suck. So they could suck with Lawrence, you'd have to think they'd suck with anybody. Or they're just not as good as we think they are. So with the quarterback hunt, besides the names I've mentioned, then of course there's the draft. And right now, everybody, for the most part, is talking about Malik Willis. Occasionally come up with some other names like Corral or Coral, whatever his last name is pronounced. And Strong. These seem to be the three names mentioned, but by far, Malik Willis is the definite favorite of fans who, if they were to draft somebody in the 9th round, if they weren't going to pick up a free agency quarterback like Deshaun Watson, and they want to not be rebuilding, they would take the 9th pick and get Malik Willis if he's there. Now, I don't pretend to know everything about Blake Willis. I had barely seen a few highlights of him. I didn't watch the combines. I don't know all the tangibles about this guy. People seem really high on him, and I don't know if it's just because they went viral with these clips of him throwing these 1,000-yard deep bombs, and everybody's saying, "Oh, look at that, it's Russell Wilson part 2. Let's get him. Let's get him." But I don't know. Maybe the kid's good. All I know is I also hear that this year's draft sucks for quarterbacks. So is he just like the best of the worst? You know how it is. It's like if you're starving, Eddie Murphy routine. If you're starving and someone throws you a cracker, you go, that's the best cracker I've ever eaten in my life. Ritz cracker, that's a Ritz cracker. But if you have a Ritz cracker next to a sirloin steak, an ice cream sundae, you might think that, this is just plain old crackers. And so maybe he just looks good because everybody else is weak in this draft. And when you're got no other choices, and you just try to take the best option available, well, then you settle for what you can get. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm underselling this guy. Could he be somebody's franchise quarterback? Is he the one diamond in the rough in this draft of mostly crappy quarterbacks? Could he be the one that could excel and be a great quarterback? Be the Russell Wilson, right? Russell Wilson was that. And I know a lot of people, when they are trying to embrace and look at the good side of the Russell Wilson thing, I can see the mindset. I can see the mindset of people trying to convince themselves why this Russell Wilson trade is a good thing. Because, let's face it, when you are trading away one of the best quarterbacks in his prime, and I know you guys are going to debate this, but if you are going to trade away, you have better have a good plan to replace that. Either you really know that he's not as good as he used to be and he's not going to succeed anywhere else, and you saw it coming, or obviously things didn't work out, he didn't want to be here, and so you're just forced to kind of give in to his demands and feel like there's greener pastures elsewhere. If there are, how far away are these greener pastures? Are we just planting the sod right now and have to watch it grow for a couple of years before it blows up into a full-blown, beautiful meadow? Or is it going to be like a barren dirt area with a bunch of little seedlings of grass that look pretty good, but it's going to take a couple of years before we got to water it and get some sun on there and get it all up there to where it can actually be everything you dreamed it to be? That's the question. What is the plan? Someday we're going to look back at this. I mean, it's already being marked one of the most momentous days in the history of the Seahawks and maybe even of all Seattle sports in terms of a player being moved. But will history reveal that this was a good thing or a bad thing? We aren't going to know until about 2 or 3 years from now. We won't know if this turned out to be, the writing was on the wall and Russell's going to go to Denver, and if he does suck there, we'll be like, whew, we dodged a bullet, man. We got out just in time before the stock dropped all the way. And Russell Wilson really was on his way down and was no longer the quarterback we all remembered him to be. And it's a good thing we cashed our chips when we had some value to get. Or is Russell Wilson going to go win 2 Super Bowls for Denver, and us fans are going to be going, man, this sucks. That was the dumbest thing the Seahawks ever did. And again, the easiest thing to compare this to is, like a girl you were going out with for 8 years, or 9, 10 almost. 10 years you're going out with this girl. And then you break up. Of course, you're going to really go with we had so many good years together, so I wish you the best and happiness with whoever you end up with. Oh, you already got a guy. Okay, well, I hope you are happy together. Come on. It's kind of like that, other than the fact that Russell Wilson and I don't have a relationship that you know of. But it's the same feeling, right? We get attached to these guys in the same way. They don't know who the heck we are, but we get so crazily attached. Patrick says, some people say that Pete wants to win now is a problem. Do you agree, Norb? So I'm now to the point, especially after seeing Tom Brady coming back, Russell Wilson on our schedule, we're going to face both these teams. Wilson at home and Brady in Tampa Bay. Two quarterbacks right now are probably number one on my most wanted list, or most hated list, or most jealous list, whatever you want to put it, most bitter because they're successful somewhere else list. Do I want to have a rebuild team where we're just going to get completely bulldozed and destroyed like 52-3? No. I've been one defending, saying that I asked that question. Would you rather be a two-time Super Bowl winning team where you won in year one and won the second one in year 10, but sucked all the games in between? Would you rather that, or have it to where you were making the playoffs and you were competitive and your seasons were compelling to the end every year? Since that's what we did, I kind of like that. Yeah, it'd be nice to have the Super Bowl, and we were this close to having to, but I'd rather have competitive, compelling games, because that has to last you the entire year. And I'm paying money for these games, all right? I'm not paying just for the games that we win Super Bowls. As a season ticket holder, I roll with every year, every game. I want those games to mean something. Otherwise, I'm making this trip, committing an entire day of prep, going out there, making the journey, being in the stands, then the long journey home. I don't want that to be something where I know every week we have no chance, we're out of it from the get-go, and it's going to be a painful, miserable, impossible to watch product. That's no fun. You want your team to be competitive. So, long answer to your question is, yeah, if there's a way that they can make us win now by re-signing guys and getting the best quarterback that we can that fits the plan, I'm for it. I am for it. I might not sound that way 4 days ago. I was probably more like, blow the whole thing up. But given recent developments and having had time to think about it, I would rather not go through a full rebuild. But it's got to be the right retool. It can't be a retool where Drew Lock is the starting quarterback. Otherwise, it ain't going to work. So that's a tough one. Could they be lucky and get the next replacement? Kind of like what the Indianapolis Colts did, where they had Peyton Manning and then almost immediately transitioned to, they had 1 year and then they got Andrew Luck. It's not going to happen like that for us. We're going to have to find it some other way. Either we go through the front door through a trade and give up a whole ton of stuff, which would put us kind of back where we were, or worse. Or we do take a chance on someone like Malik Willis in the draft, and you hope this dude turns out to be something spectacular. We'll know in the next couple weeks, I guess, if we're going through the free agency route, since the time starts now. But once free agency's done, then we'll know if we're in the full rebuild and what we're looking for in the draft. So there we go. Yeah, Patrick says you don't want to be miserable like it was in 1992 with that 2-14 record. 2-14 record with Cortez Kennedy, the defensive player of the year. Greatest defensive player on the worst offensive team. Terrible. Yeah, we had a lot of the 90s, with the exception of 99. Pretty much every year of football was bad. Almost a full decade of miserable football. Don't want that. All right, you guys enjoy the rest of the week, the rest of the day, and the rest of the week. It's going to be, I might be popping in there for the random stuff in case some big stories break. So it's going to be one of those types of weeks where something happens, might jump on there real quick and announce it if something huge development goes the Seahawks way. We'll be watching carefully. Watch your Twitter, Seahawks feed, whatever you do to get your news, because it's going to get interesting this coming week, starting now. All right, you guys, have a great week. Nice chatting with y'all, and thanks to everybody who subscribed to my channel. If you haven't yet, I would love it if you did. And a lot of you answered my poll. I had a poll on a post on my channel asking if you're a subscriber. When did you first subscribe, and when did you how did you find me? If you haven't done that yet, I'd love to hear from you. It's kind of fun to hear where people have how far they go back. It's been a long time now. All right, you guys have a great day. We'll talk to y'all later. Appreciate your support. Go Hawks. Go Seahawks.